this is the my Eagles kind of draft plan for the 2025 NFL draft. Um, I'm not- I think I said in a previous video, I'm not sure if I'm going to do a third mock draft, but I did want to do this because as an Eagles fan, I think it's important to talk more about what I think the Eagles should do. Um, and I completely agree with what Howie's done so far in the offseason. While some decisions have been probably questionable for some people, I kind of understand that you can't just keep the same roster around. I mean, how often does a team keep the same roster and win, right? The Chiefs, they moved on from players like Tyreek Hill and, like an important player like that. And they knew to keep building with young players, and look where it's gotten them. The Patriots did that for years as well. They would let their players walk in free agency and pick up young talent to replace them. So, with that in mind, um, the Eagles have needs in the draft because of some of these moves, and that's because some of the anticipated moves, namely the seemingly inevitable Dallas Goddard trade that I think we know is going to happen at this point. Whether it happens before the draft, during the draft, after the draft, doesn't matter. Um, yeah. So with their biggest needs, I think it's obvious to say defensive end and defensive tackle. Obviously, we lost players like Milton Williams, Brandon Graham, and Josh Sweat, whether it was to retirement, free agency. Um, there's a lot of talent for those positions in the draft, so it won't be too hard to find some top players. I think the first round pick should be on the defensive line. There are plenty of good options. Um, but I would also accept a safety, um, which is another one of our needs after trading CJ Gardner Johnson. It kind of comes down to how much do you trust a player like Sidney Brown or Tristan McCollum to play up opposite Reed Blankenship. Uh, I mean, I don't really trust either one of them to be the full-time starter, which is why I think there's a quite a good possibility that we do draft a safety high. Um, there are good options. Whether they'll be there at 32 or not, it's questionable. They might have to trade up. Maybe not, though, because it seems like a lot of safeties are probably going to fall down the board. Although I still think defensive line is more important than safety because pressure will always beat coverage. Um, and then obviously tight end with the Dallas Goddard trade that we think is going to happen. That is a need. Um, there are really good options. I think a lot of people seem to be excited about the Eagles possibly getting Mason Taylor, whether at the end of the first or somewhere in the second round. Some have him in the third round. I'd be okay with that. Um, I don't want to have to trade up for him. I'd rather move back from the first round and pick up another second, maybe like we'll say a third or a fourth or something. And then pick him up then, and then use our other second round picks and other high picks on the other positions of need. Um, but tight end is kind of a questionable one too, because I think if the only way that we should draft a tight end is if it's on like day two, maybe day one, I guess. But um, because we shouldn't be drafting a tight end for depth if we're trading Goddard. Because I mean, how much do you trust Grant Calcaterra? He proved that he can be a guy in the league. I just don't know if he can be the starter. Um, but yeah, those are the main positions of need. I think some other things they're going to look at backup linemen. Obviously, the Eagles love to draft linemen, um, love to develop them. I know there's a possibility they could draft a tackle in the first or second as a possible eventual replacement for Lane Johnson. We'll see. I don't think it's extremely likely, but it could happen. Running back, a third running back is always possible as well. Obviously, Barkley and Shipley are going to be the top two on the roster, but the Eagles love to have fresh talent at running back. Even with the Barkley extension, they will always look to add receivers, another position like that. Though they drafted two last year, they have plenty of receivers on the roster, and I don't think they should draft one high. So it's not like they're going to draft the top talent to be like a wide receiver 3. So they'd probably be drafting for depth, which I don't think they really need as much at receiver. And besides those positions, I mean, I could see maybe linebacker as like a Burks replacement, but I think they had that last year with Trotter. They already have him on the roster, and Van Sumeren's going to be healthy, so I think there should be okay. Corner is a questionable one. Depends on how you feel about Ringo and Adoree Jackson possibly stepping into that corner 2 role. I think both of them could do it admirably, but I don't know. If they draft a corner, I would understand it. Yeah, I think those are the main needs. I'm talking about completely what they should do. I think I'd be okay with them trading up or trading down in the first, but I do think they should trade down at least a few times to either pick up capital for next year's draft or pick up more picks for this year. Um, this class, I know a lot of people say that, it's not super deep, so you might have to trade up to get the top talent. But I think the Eagles are very good at finding talent anyways, and I think someone big is going to fall to them at 32 if they choose to stay. So when I think of like the actual plan, like exactly what they're going to do, I believe first round should be looking at players like Derek Harmon, Jalen Walker, Donovan Izaraku. Um, those are the top options. I'd say maybe look at Nick Imanwari if he's there, but I'd take the defensive lineman above him. And I think my top option at this spot would probably be Jalen Walker if he's available. Keeping that Georgia connection is obviously important. And he's a position to need. So, but this is a spot, like I said, I could see us trading down. And if we trade down, those guys might not be there. Uh, there's still some good options, though. I like what we've seen from Jack Sawyer out of Ohio State. I know lots of people don't value him as highly as I might, but I think he's a really solid prospect. Um, JT Tuimoloau also out of Penn State, Ohio State. Um, yeah, there's some good options in the second round there. And then I'd say that second pick, if Mason Taylor's there, I'd say take him. Um, some other tight ends that I really like, Harold Fannin. I mean, honestly, I think that Harold Fannin and Mason Taylor should be the only 2 tight ends the Eagles do take. If it should be one of the 2. If it's not them, I wouldn't take a tight end. Safeties, though, I think Kevin Winston is probably my top option. Really hope he's available. Maybe third, early third. I mean, I could see him being there. Maybe late third. I'm not sure. And if we do trade down and pick up a decent third round pick, I think he'll be available at that spot. And then at the end of the third round, I think Charles Grant out of William and Mary would be a really good option. Maybe he could be there in the fourth round as well. I'm not 100% sure on that, but he's a good tackle option. Like he could be the swing tackle this season. And I don't know if he's like exactly could be I don't think he really could be a replacement for Lane Johnson, but you never know. Yeah, I think that's a good option there. That fourth round pick, I think Tyler Barron out of Miami. He's just good edge rusher. He's got great technique, and I think he could be another one of those guys who can maybe step up and get some meaningful playing time in his rookie year. I mean, as much as I'd like some people up the middle, and Barron's not that, I think edge rushers are important, and I think the Eagles have the defensive tackle area at least somewhat. As much as I think they do need one and probably should get one, I wouldn't be too upset if they didn't get one, only because I think Carter, Moro Ojuma, and Jordan Davis are a pretty good trio there, and they're going to add someone else. So, and then that brings them to the fifth round picks, where really anything could happen. I like Kobe Bryant out of Kansas. He's a cornerback. Um, I think that's a solid option there. I like Kobe King out of Penn State, linebacker. He's a good player. I think that I think he can bring a lot to the table. I think he's like a Jeremiah Trotter kind of guy, where Jeremiah Trotter Jr. at least, where he's probably more of a future pick, but I think he could maybe make some meaningful snaps in a season or two. So another guy I would say is Joshua Gray. He's a guard. He's another one of those guys is a little similar to Charles Grant, where he's not going to get a lot of playing time, but he probably can do a little bit. Um, I know they just drafted Trevor Keegan last year. Um, I like Trevor Keegan, but I mean, everyone's got their opinions. Stoutland University, obviously, is going to develop all these offensive linemen to probably be something decent. Uh, I just, I don't know. I'm something about Trevor Keegan. I wasn't the biggest fan of him watching him in like training camp last year, things like that. But yeah, and then with their fourth, and I, I mean, will they maybe get more draft picks with more trade downs? Maybe, but I did say I kind of would like them to pick up more picks next year than this year. So I do believe they will probably only have 8, maybe 9 picks in this draft. I don't see them having much more. I could actually see them having only 7. Um, but if he's available, I think Nazir Stackhouse out of Georgia, or since I know some people probably have him going a little bit higher, Howard Cross out of Notre Dame, defensive tackle. He can play up the middle, and he's another guy where since it's a position in need, he could get some decent playing time as a rookie and get a chance to prove his worth. So that's my idea for the Eagles. Maybe not exactly conventional, but all the way around at least. But I think it's good at addressing needs and trying to get some players for the future. So this seems to be the new strategy the Eagles are going with, which I completely agree. Build with young talent. You don't need to keep the older guys around as they decline. So yeah, Howie's going to make some good decisions, and we're going to see how the draft goes. But um, if they made these moves, they made these exact picks, which I know they're not. But if they did, I'd say it would be a pretty successful draft for the Eagles.